That's how I feel today, y'all. I just feel productive. I feel loose in a like flowy way. But hey, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are a new viewer, aka a future subscriber, welcome. I'm happy you're here. When and if you're ready to subscribe, go ahead and hit the subscription button below. I think it's on your right. And if you are a returning viewer, hey boo, hey, I'm so happy you all are here. We are unpacking and discussing The Gifts of Imperfection by Dr. Brené Brown. If you are new to this channel, you can start with this video, or you can go to the previous video, which is tagged below, or you can start from the very beginning of the series. There is a section on my page where you can see them in order. However, let me just tell you that the information is independent of one another, but they do build on each other. So it is my suggestion that you start from the beginning so that you can understand where we are. But nonetheless, this video is just as important. So go ahead and tune in. Grab a snack, get comfortable, get cozy. I do believe you're going to be here for a while. So in our last video, we were talking about resiliency. It's actually part 2. This is part 3. Brené Brown mentions, and I'm just going to recall, she says, from the foundation of spirituality, and then foundation of spirituality, and then the protective factors births the different things that people who are resilient have. So again, it's the spiritual foundation, the protective factors that we all have, and then there are 5 common factors that she's noticed most people who are resilient have. But then she continues on to say, from this foundation of spirituality, 3 other significant patterns emerged as being essential to resiliency. So in my last video, we talked about cultivating hope. And in this video, we're going to talk about practicing critical awareness. Now, this video should not be long unless I just start getting super chatty. But a lot of times, if I'm going to keep it funky with y'all, when I am trying to understand something and I'm praying or I'm having a conversation with my inner circle, I like to make room for the fact that my delay in understanding something could possibly be a learning curve, right? Not an excuse, but more so just acknowledging that maybe I'm not connecting the dots, or maybe I'm not bridging the gap because there's a lack of understanding. Or simply I'm not thinking critically enough, okay? So I'm looking at my little notes here. Critical awareness, by definition, is an active, persistent, and careful consideration of a belief or a supposed form of knowledge in light of the grounds that support it. And it is the further conclusion to where it tends. I think I maybe scribbled that part, so we're just going to throw that part of the definition out. But what I want to focus on is the fact that it says critical awareness is an active, so it's an ongoing thing, persistent and careful consideration of a belief, okay? And this is going to tie in together. We're going to talk about this in detail. So if you're following along with the book, we're on page 67. Brené opens practicing critical awareness with, practicing critical awareness is about reality checking the messages and expectations that drive the never good enough gremlins. Okay? She says it's our biology to trust what we see with our eyes. This makes living in a carefully edited, overproduced, and photoshopped world very dangerous. I'm gonna read that one more time. We are I always say this wrong. I said this wrong in another video. Based on our biology, our biological makeup, we are to trust what we see with our eyes. How many of us fall for the, like, I have to see it to believe it? She says this makes living in a carefully edited, overproduced, and photoshopped world very dangerous. If we want to cultivate a resilient spirit and stop falling prey to comparing our ordinary lives with manufactured images, we need to know how to reality check what we see. We need to be able to ask and answer these questions. So I love this section. Like I said, it's a straight shooting section. It should not be long, But essentially, she's given us 3 questions that we should begin to store in our mind somewhere as tools to be critical thinkers, to be someone who is critical, uses critical awareness in responding to things and to be resilient. Remember that these are essential pieces of resiliency, okay? The first question is what I'm seeing real? Do these images convey real life or fantasy? How many times or how many of us have been in situations that require us to be critical thinkers and we don't pause to say, is what I'm seeing real, or is this a narrative, or is my perception distorted? Is there something about this that I'm looking at and it's not true? Is what I'm seeing real? Number 2, she says, does these images reflect healthy, wholehearted living, or do they turn my life, my body, my family, and my relationships into objects and commodities? Commodities are like material things, right? Essential things, but they're material. I love that. Do the images reflect healthy, wholehearted living, or do they turn my life, my body, my family, and my relationships into objects and commodities? So this is about looking at what the world constantly tells us. So she speaks about in this section, she goes into details about how we look at so many ads per day. We're looking at commercials. We're looking at, music videos, Instagram, Facebook, and they essentially plant seeds of where we are and what we do. It's not good enough. And so this is how we ought to respond to the things that, whether we want to see it or not, is being shoved in our face. Is it real? And do these images reflect healthy, wholehearted living, or do they turn the things that are important to me, such as my body, my life, my family, my relationships, into objects? So good. Number 3, this might be my favorite. Who benefits by my seeing these images and feeling bad about myself? Who benefits from me seeing these images and these things that are being shoved in my face and me choosing to feel bad about myself? Who benefits? She says, in addition to being essential to resilience, practicing critical awareness is actually one of the 4 elements of shame resilience. And I do love this because this is where we've been building. Okay, we talked about shame resiliency a couple videos ago. And she's essentially saying these questions will also help you when you come into contact with shame. Situations that make you feel shameful, you can ask yourself, is this real? Who benefits from me feeling shameful? Does this turn the things that I value into objects and commodities? Because this essentially, if you think about it out loud, it's causing you to think about your perception of what you're seeing, and for you to actually come into acknowledging how you're feeling and really assessing who benefits from you feeling like crap or you feeling like you're not good enough. Okay? She says, shame works like the zoom lens on a camera. When we are feeling shame, the camera is zoomed in tight and all we see is our flawed selves alone and struggling. I love this example that she gives because it is true. When we're feeling ashamed, we can't seem to hear or see other people. We only can see what is going on and what's wrong with us. And then she says, when we zoom out, we start to see a completely different picture. We see many people in the same struggle rather than thinking, I'm the only one. We start thinking, I can't believe it. You too? I'm normal? I thought it was just me. She says, once we start to see, of course, my camera started acting up. So she says, once we start to see the big picture, we are better able to reality check our shame triggers and the messages and expectations that we are never good enough. So in a nutshell, today's video is about you being someone who is critically aware of what messages are being projected to you, and you taking the time to assess, 1, if you should accept it, and 2, things such as, I'm gonna go back to the questions real quick. Is it real? Do these images reflect healthy and whole living concerning things that are of value to me, such as my life, my body, my family, and my relationships? And who benefits? That's my favorite question. Who benefits from me feeling like crap? Okay, these questions will assist you in your thinking, which will aid you in being resilient and also practicing shame resiliency. I will see you all in the next video. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing, liking, and commenting below. Bye.